Hello all, and welcome to the zoo.
Why am I here?
Minions of the Zoo is a lovable ragtag group of misfits that sprang up initially as a fan group to Ranting Monkey, Scribe-Light, Some Dumb American, and their joint Lords of the Night livestream show. Late-night discussions in Discord quickly evolved into streams of their own, with each member bringing something new and different to the table for discussion. Led by the incomparable Reject PPC and the One-Ton Hammer, the group rotates hosts known as Zookeepers.
Hello everybody and welcome to Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host for this evening, One-Ton Hammer.
I will be your zookeeper tonight, Reject.
Alright, and welcome to the zoo. I am the Lucky Pop-Tart Inquisitor.
Sanguine.
Skep Tock.
I'm Prospero.
And I'm Delahazed.
Regular streamers, they're known as minions, and special guests are known as traveling exhibits. They're on a nightly basis, so that each show has something unique and fresh for our audience. Minions of the Zoo currently streams at 10:30 Central Standard, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Let's be xenophobic. It's really in this year. Let's find a nasty, slimy, ugly alien to fear. There's no more cutesy stories about E.T. phoning home. Let's learn to love our neighbors like the Christians learned in Rome. We know we ought to hate them. They're different, you see. We've seen they're mean and ugly on movies and TV. The folks that ought to know have told us how it's got to be. The gospel truth is found in scenes from Alien and V. Let's wipe out any life form that seems to be a threat. We'll serve them up a genocide they never will forget. 'Cause if we miss a couple, they'll breed a couple more. And soon we'll all be hating twice as many as before. You see, aliens can never be as good as humankind. A more delightful race than us you'll never ever find. So step aside, you star slime, we're ready for your worst. We know you want to beat us, enslave us and defeat us, oppress us and browbeat us unless we get you first.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the zoo. I'm your Zookeeper for tonight, Inquisitor. Minions joining me are Eeyore, who is apparently muted, and Camel.
Evening, everyone.
How's it going?
It's going. I'm just setting everything up here. Gonna turn up the music a little bit. And yeah, how are you gentlemen this evening?
I'm doing okay.
I am tired and annoyed.
Yeah, you were telling me about why you were annoyed before the stream. If you want to elucidate everyone else, that's perfectly fine.
In almost let's see, it's like going on 4.5 years of being on Twitter. I caught my first Twitter suspension early this morning for telling a CCP shill to eat shit and die. So he reported me for promoting suicide and self-harm.
It didn't work.
Tricon bastard.
Yeah. And that was all in relation to the story out of Wisconsin about the guy driving through the parade. Now, I don't have all the details of the story. I'm not looking to comment on it at any point, until more details do come out. Mm-hmm. I know what I've seen online is appalling. If any of those details turn out to be true, but I also know that it's one of those. It's chum in the water for people to jump through the birth of things. And so I saw an article from CNN. I was like, oh well, let's see what CNN's take is on this, because chances are they're going to get it wrong, and I wanted to laugh. I wanted to laugh in the future for when there was more details coming out. Just look back and point and laugh. Look how wrong these fuckers got it again. Because it's almost, you can almost set your watch by it. And before I even clicked on the article to read it, the first reply I saw was from this guy who was bringing the Chinese tennis player who supposedly has been disappeared. He was bringing her up. There are dead grandmothers and children and tens of wounded people who have been run over. And this guy is one completely derail the thread to talk about something that's a non-issue at this point. And so I just told him to shut the fuck up. As you do. And he replied back at me, and yeah, I told him to eat shit and die. Apparently you're not supposed to say that on Twitter. Which I thought's fucking hilarious, because of all the things I've seen said on Twitter, and that is ban-worthy? Really?
You said it to a Chi-Com. What did you expect? I'm surprised you weren't permanently banned. Then again, you probably have been shadow banned for it.
Even the race card didn't save me. So that should tell you something. Because I don't break that thing out very often. But yeah, so like I got to sit there and stew for, it was well over 12 hours, because at first I was going to appeal it. And I was sitting there waiting on the appeal. I was like, how long is this supposed to take? Because, I don't know. I've never been, banned. And then, my ADD got the best of me. I was like, fuck it. I'll just, I'll delete the tweet. And then that's when they decided to kick in the 12 hours. So, well, finally, 6 o'clock tonight, Central Time, I got to get back on Twitter. And I was like, you know what? After careful consideration, I've decided to become worse. Go ahead, kick me off. I don't fucking care.
Well, I've already made that decision based around several factors that revolved around last week, just period. I didn't get banned. I was thinking about going nuclear with my resolve here, and adding Jack and telling him to kill himself, and saying that Twitter overall is a net negative for society, and the people that use it are little worse than scum, and so on and so forth. I do all of the no-nos to try and get myself banned rather than deleting my account. But I've just decided I'm never gonna log in again. I'm just setting it aside and never touching it. Twitter is a cancer. It's worthless. It's a worthless platform filled with worthless people and worthless discussions. Abandon it. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you got onto Twitter shortly after I did. We've only been on Twitter about 4 years, and it's gotten so much worse in that time.
Oh, yes, it has. And,
like, when I joined Twitter, people were talking about, like, the good old days, you know?
Yeah.
Well, like it just backslid so much from when they thought the good days were. And you know, I'm looking at it now, it's like, yeah, they're right. And I don't know, maybe it's just, you know, all the people I follow and interact with and see tweeting, that it does feel very one-sided. And I mean, you describe yourself as a liberal. I mean, for the longest time, I considered myself a centrist. I would probably say that the Overton window shifted enough that I would be conservative, right-wing now. And, you know, really, not much about me has changed. It's just, that's the shift in the culture. And I don't think we've really talked, you and I, in depth about politics. You know, you and I may disagree on a great many things, but, you know, we're still, you know, friendly. You know, we still got, you know, common interest and everything. Mm-hmm. And if we were to find something that we disagreed about politically, I'm sure we'd get past it quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Sure.
But I mean, being on there's like, yeah, this is not, you know, not conducive to that kind of discourse.
No.
And it probably never was, and I'm fairly confident it never will be. At this point, I just use it to watch the world burn, because that's what's happened.
Twitter is not a platform for discussion. It is not a platform for a discourse. I'm going to come right out and tell you you're wrong about that specific word. Twitter is a platform, a micro blog platform from which you can verbal diarrhea into the ether, and it is that how much worth there is to the platform. AKA nothing. There's no value to this at all.
Well, I think I don't know if I mentioned it on Minion Stream before, but I know I've mentioned it talking to Johnny. Do you remember back to 2009? Right after Obama got into office, you had the Green Revolution going on in Iran. And, well, it didn't last long.
Yeah.
Obviously. But no, the Obama administration begged and pleaded with Twitter to keep their servers open because they were going to go down for scheduled maintenance. Mm-hmm. And you had protesters in Iran using Twitter to organize their protests and people communicate with each other. Mm-hmm. So the Obama administration was really hat in hand going to Twitter, hey man, don't go down for scheduled maintenance. These people need to be able to talk to each other. And that was back when Twitter was heralded as a free speech platform. Yeah. 2009. And
how far we've fallen.
Oh yes, I mean it's abysmal when you look back at it. Comparing then and now. And when I joined, it was just about shit posting.
Yeah. There's certain things that I'll miss about Twitter because there's no talking me out of this. By the way, I'm gone.
I wasn't gonna. I completely understand, and I wouldn't try and talk off that ledge if I was getting paid.
There's some things that I'll miss about it, and mainly interacting with artists. there's a bunch of really great artists on Twitter that almost exclusively do all of their advertising, their posting of their artwork online and stuff like that. They do it almost all exclusively on Twitter, and that's what I'll miss probably the most about it. But it's not worth it.
I mean, I would be hard pressed to make an argument in disagreement with you. And I mean, the only real reason why I have not decided to just go ahead and take the nuclear option and get myself permabanned is really just being able to communicate with the other people on YouTube that I follow, like Monkey and Jack and whatnot. Because I mean, Cochrane's not going to use Discord no matter what, So
what are you talking about? He is right now. Obligatory hate Camel is Jack Cochrane joke.
I'm running out of Fight Club references to make, okay? Choo choo!
Train's on time.
But
for once.
But yeah, that's really the only reason why I joined Twitter, was because I wanted to interact with the YouTubers that I was watching back in like 2015, 2016, going into 2017.
You joined in 2017.
Yeah, I joined 2017, but like I spent a good 2 years listening to all the YouTubers that I liked. Like, and you can follow me on Twitter. Like, so after like 2 years of hearing that from everybody, it's like, yeah, fuck it, why not? Like I'd given up on Facebook long before then. I was like, yeah, I mean, I'll dip my toe back into social media, see what's going on, and I did enjoy it there for a while. I liked rolling around in the mud, but the pig pen just keeps getting smaller and smaller, man. The worst part of it is they keep trying to sanitize the pig pen.
Yeah. As
and it's like
with your temporary
pen
right now.
Yeah. I mean, telling someone to eat shit and die. I've not met a single person in real life that would take that as me threatening self-harm or suicide, or promoting that they engage in self-harm or suicide. That has always been a way to tell someone to fuck off.
Say, if I wanted to promote self-harm or suicide, I would tell you to kill yourself.
Exactly, yes. I mean, if I wanted you to commit suicide, I would tell you to start a shotgun, suck a tailpipe, take a quick hop and a short drop, whatever.
Long walk off a short pier.
Exactly. There are many ways that I would phrase that to let you know that I wanted you to self-delete. And telling you to eat and die would not be one of them. So, but I'm going to go ahead and attribute my carelessness with my words to just a lack of sleep from spending all this time at the hospital with Nana Camel. She is improving, but it's been slow going. Anybody who's wanting an update, right now they're looking at her cancer as being a cause of her stay. So, looking to start another round of chemo tomorrow.
Was she in remission after the first treatment?
Well, see, she hasn't had a round of chemo in a good long while. She's been in remission for a long time.
Oh, okay.
She was originally diagnosed when I was in like 4th grade.
Oh, jeez.
So we're talking like, oh shit, 1996. 95, somewhere in that range. I don't know.
Credit to her for,
Yeah.
Oh, girl's a fighter.
Yeah. She beat it once. Went in remission. She's been in remission for like 20 some odd years at this point. And I guess it started coming back because she's got a pretty rare type of leukemia. Don't ask me to pronounce it, spell it, thing. It's one of those like you would win a game of Scrabble if you could spell that shit out.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like if that's your first word, you win hands down. Oh, now all the dogs are barking.
Oh no.
But yeah, so with some of her medication for her being a cancer patient, she's on prednisone, which steroid, and that can cause the skin to become thin and papery. And she had fallen asleep sitting up, and she's been prone to do that at times. And apparently it caused her to develop a bed sore. Now, mind you, she's not like sleeping, like 18, 20 hours a day like she's got African sleeping sickness or some weird, disease, right?
Sure.
This is a woman who's still working a full-time job. So, she's up, moving around for work 8 to 10 hours a day. Running, paying bills, grocery shopping. She's out and about.
Active.
Exactly. So, over the course of like just sleeping, like a normal amount of time for a person, she ended up developing a bed sore on her lower back, upper buttocks.
Sure.
And I'm blaming the commie cough for this partially, because while she was never, infected with that, she was also more reluctant to go to the hospital for fear of catching it.
Sure. I'm gonna say that'd be,
So
kind of, hotbeds for it.
Yeah. I mean, between that and the media coverage telling you that, it's around every corner, hiding under your bed and all that shit, it, rightly scared a 74-year-old cancer survivor into not wanting to go. So it got worse and got worse, and it turned into an ulcer, became infected. Eventually, it got so bad that she had to have surgery for it, and had like a golf ball size hole originally above her bone. And so after surgery and dealing with wound care for a couple months, her primary care on one of her visits thought that she was septic. She was going into sepsis, and didn't have any beds at our local hospital, so we had to go to Tulsa for it. And after 2-3 weeks of her being on antibiotics every day, and doing another surgery, having a wound vac installed, they come back, all these different blood cultures, no infection, you're not infected, but she was still spiking fevers every night, and they couldn't figure out. So eventually it's well, maybe it's the cancer. Cancer can cause fevers. And so the last few days she's been on high dose steroids, no fevers, thankfully. So it's kind of looking like that's what the deal is. But the nursing staff, some of them folks have been great, and others have been shitbags. Just like any other profession, you're gonna have a few assholes in every barrel, and because of the vaccine mandates, they've been short-staffed. And I'm not saying this, just out of my ass. I'm actually, I asked different, nurses, aides, and RNs and stuff, and they admitted it. It's like, yeah, the vaccine mandates that's caused some folks to go ahead, retire early or, find different work. And also, because of the different vaccine mandates, it has caused, an increase in demand for nursing staff. So other people who have went ahead and got the vaccine are traveling to make more money.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I don't blame anybody for going to make some extra cheddar,
Sure.
But I'm stuck with the not ready for prime time players taking care of my grandmother. And some of these folks don't know how close to an ass kicking they've got. There was one girl, one nurse's aide, who she was trying to readjust my grandmother's bed and trying to get my grandmother more centered into like the middle of the bed and further up the bed because she was kind of slid down towards the foot of the bed. I don't know where in Africa she's from, but I could not understand half of what she was saying, and my grandmother being a septuagenarian couldn't understand but one every 5 words, which made it very difficult for this lady to try and get my grandmother to maneuver this way or that way. And she pretty much, it looked like she was trying to throw my grandmother out of the bed like a fucking bull rider, in under 8 seconds.
Like real manhandle or like?
Well, like she was adjusting the bed. At one point in time, she had my grandmother's head, she had the bed to where like her feet were above her head.
Oh,
like, yeah. And then she was trying to like pull her this way and that way, and I about slapped her back to the motherland. I was like, you need to leave. Like, would you be willing to help? I understood her saying like, would you be willing to help? I was like, no, you need to go. She's fine in the bed as she is. Please go. And thankfully, I have not seen her since. But they come in at all hours of the day and night. I have not got more than like 4 hours of sleep in a month.
Sounds like,
And that's only because they're not sitting there poking and prodding me like a pincushion. I don't think Nana Camel's gotten more than 2 or 3 hours at a time. And it's like, how do you guys expect her to get better if she can't even sleep?
Yeah, like.
At one point in time, at one point in time, like they had a bunch of different people like just showing up, like out of the blue. Like, I've never seen you before. Who the fuck are you? Like palliative care shows up, and then like shortly after them, like the chaplain shows up. Like, all right, what the fuck are you people trying to tell us without telling us?
Yeah, right.
Like the chaplain, he poked his head in. It's like, hi, I'm the I'm the hospital's chaplain. I was like, yeah, she was married to a preacher for over 20 years. We really don't need a man in the cloth right now. Get the fuck out. Like, if she wants last rites or anything, we'll call you. Don't call us. But, I mean, to kind of circle back around, tie it all together, they have a policy at the hospital about being rude and disrespectful to staff and everything. Mm-hmm. So it's like real life Twitter. I've got to watch what the fuck I say there too.
Yeah.
And the only difference is they've got people with guns at the hospital.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Like there are more armed security at this hospital than there are cops in my hometown. And it's really kind of like hit or miss with some of those guys. Some of those guys look like they just got out of the Ranger Battalion.
Yeah.
And some of the other dudes look like they spent 4 tours guarding a fucking donut shop.
Some big old, like, fucking spare tires sitting around their
yeah. And sometimes, like, they mix and match them. So they got, like, one super fit dude and, like, one, like, just bloated old guy. And I'm sitting there like, all right. You know, 'cause I don't know, maybe it's the machismo thing of being a dude. Like, I know, like, you size people up just out of habit, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I could definitely take you. That guy's going to be some trouble. Oh, shit, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things like, all right, if they fuck up my ground, they're bad enough. You're going first, because you might actually be a threat. Porky Pig over here, I can waste a few seconds. So, but yeah, I have less faith in humanity after dealing with some of these folks.
You would think that, well, I mean, okay, it's not to say that they don't have an extremely stressful job or any of that kind of stuff, but you would think that when you get into it, the goal should be the patient and not...
Oh, yeah. Well, like, that's
not
the thing.
Spending 2 hours unavailable by pager.
Well...
While supposedly on duty.
That's the thing. Like, I kind of feel like they're taking me for granted being there all the time.
Yeah.
Because there were times when we were first kind of in there, like the first week or two. She would hit the call button to, you know, get assistance getting up to go to the bathroom. You know, and it wasn't even like going into the bathroom. They had a bedside commode right there, you know, by the bed, so she could just get up, get in the toilet, do her business.
Sure.
She hits the button, calls us like, "Hey, I need to go to the bathroom," and it's like a fucking SpongeBob episode. 15 minutes later, you know. And, you know, it's like, hey, man, eventually got to the point where I was like, fuck them. Here, I'll get you out of bed. Let's get you on the toilet so that way you're not, you know, having an accident.
Yeah.
And now that's pretty much just stock standard.
Yeah.
You know, we don't even bother calling them. Now, there have been a few times where she did have accidents in bed because, you know, being so ill. You know, there were times where she's running 102, 103. And just couldn't help herself.
Sure.
And instead of sitting there and letting her, you know, stew in her own juices, waiting for some nurse's aide to show up after 20 minutes, it got to the point where I was slapping on some gloves and I was changing out her bedding. I was changing out her gown. I was, you know, cleaning her up. And at first, you know, she was very, what's the word I'm looking for here? You know, she, you know, she felt like she was losing some of her dignity.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah,
as you would, right? And I finally told her, like, look, you've wiped my ass I don't know how many times growing up. This is just returning the favor, okay?
Right? Yeah. I get it.
You know, this is what you're supposed to do, right? This is what family is. You know, what's worse, your grandson cleaning up after you or some stranger? So now, like again, like unless it's like changing out an IV or like having to go get her some meds, I do all that stuff. And I look upon the nurses' aides with more and more disdain every day. Like, oh, you guys need any help? Did we ask for any? No? Okay, bye. One of them was actually very nice. She was, you know, we only had her for like a day or two. She was traveling in from some other hospital in like Oklahoma City. And, you know, very, very nice. Had a good bedside manner. And she saw me doing all the stuff, you know.
Sure.
And it was really nice. She was like, have you thought about, you know, maybe going into nursing or anything like that? You know, because again, nursing shortage, right? Mm-hmm. And I looked at her like, oh, hell no. Like, the only reason why I'm doing this is because I care about her. You know? Mm-hmm. Like, I want to make sure she's taken care of. I don't give a fuck about anybody else on this floor. Which apparently would actually make you a good nurse.
Yeah, right? Say if you're
Isn't that ironic?
has anything to do with it, yeah.
So yeah, like I got my my hooves crossed that this round of chemo gets her back on track and able to start healing up from her wound.
Yeah.
Because with the second surgery and everything, the wound actually got bigger.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, she went from like golf ball size to like softball size.
I remember I had to deal with something similar with my mom. She had a perforated bowel.
Oh man!
So they said that when they opened her up and they removed the section of intestine, it was perforated so badly that just holding it in their hand, gravity was enough for it to fall apart.
That's wow.
So she had a colostomy. She's since she's made a like straight up full recovery. I mean, she doesn't have the colostomy bag anymore or anything like that. But
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, but for a while there though, she had a colostomy. They essentially like bypassed a whole section of her large intestine, all sorts of stuff like that. But yeah, she was in the hospital for a really, really long time.
Now, what kind of diet did she have to be on for that? Having to bypass that much intestine and everything. That's
I don't really remember what her diet was. You mean like after the surgeries and everything?
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, like when.
I know for a while she had a liquid diet. She actually had to be fed intravenously because she was in the ICU post surgery. I think when she was actually able to eat, it was a liquid-only diet for several weeks, and then went on to semi-solids, then solids. When she was in the... because she went to the hospital first, and then she went to a... what is that? Physical therapy hospital? Or like a recovery hospital?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, where like the whole thing is just recovering from a surgery. Like that's the whole point of the hospital. I remember that one though because that hospital was all the way out in the sticks, and I visited her a couple times there. And when I would go there, I'd be like circling around the place several times because I didn't know what room she was because they kept on like bouncing her around to different rooms for no real terribly apparent reason. But that hospital I remember was also the part where she had to be weaned off of morphine, which is the reason why I know to stay the hell away from opiates. If my mom's reaction is anything to go, with like how you genetically will react to opiates, I will be a straight up bastard if I get addicted to like heroin or opium or any of that kind of stuff, because she was on morphine for a long time, and she will admit that it fouled her mood very, very badly.
Oh, I mean, I never been on morphine or anything like that. Never done heroin. But like I remember in my early 20s, I had to get my wisdom teeth cut out, and it wasn't even like oxy. They gave me, it was hydrocodones.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I'm trying to remember what that's the equivalent of that is. That's a generic for Percocet, if I'm not mistaken.
I think, yeah. My mom was also prescribed hydrocodone as well.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. For just getting like a couple of wisdom teeth pulled, right? They gave me like a bottle of 30 from the Indian clinic. Yeah. And they're like, take these if you got any pain. And like for the first couple of days, yeah, sure. My gums were still, tender and stuff. So, first couple of days, take them as prescribed. And then by the end of it's like, okay, I'm out of pills. Why does my hair hurt?
Yeah.
Like, it's like I had the worst nicotine headache ever, and like, oh yeah, I was a bastard. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stick with weed from now on.
Right.
And
worst weed does to me is it makes me sleepy.
yeah, makes me sleepy, happy, and hungry. Nobody has ever bitched about me being stoned, but nobody wanted to be around me when I was jonesing for a fucking Percocet.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that was another thing. Like she was concerned about taking any pain meds as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that reminds me though. Speaking of heroin, they put IVs in her, right? They had IVs in each arm. They have lab techs coming in drawing blood, every day for a while there.
Mm-hmm.
When they were looking for infections, they're doing blood cultures and this and that. Mm-hmm. And I did come home for one night. I was cleaning up the house because we were thinking she wasn't going to be there for too terribly long after the surgery. Mm-hmm. Maybe a few days, recovery, and then we could get her back home. So I was trying to clean up her house, get it set up for her to come home. And, I think I came back, stayed overnight, worked on the house, that night, the next day, and then went back the next morning after that. Mm-hmm. I come back and they have blown out, I don't know how many of her veins in both of her arms. Apparently it was two different people doing this too. Mm-hmm. Like her left arm, this one lady was doing it. She blew out I don't know how many veins. It looked like somebody took a Louisville Slugger to her fucking upper forearms and bicep areas. I mean, so purple they were almost black. And I'm looking like, what the fuck happened here? And thankfully, either she was so out of it she couldn't pick this lady out of a lineup, or they never brought her back again because she would have gone out of a 13th floor fucking window. But yeah, apparently she blew out so many of them, and she finally gets one to hit properly, and she admitted to my grandmother like, oh yeah, I was about to call for help. I was like, about to call for help? I mean, her arms are black. You should really be calling for help before you get anywhere close to that point.
Yeah.
I was half tempted to go up to North Tulsa and find a heroin addict. At least I know they can hit a vein. Like I said, man, not ready for primetime players.
Yeah.
And some of them, good people,
Yeah. Good people
few
caught in a
of them,
bad situation because of the whole COVID thing.
Yeah, few of them have been, really great and responsive to any needs or requests. Others, just like I said, complete shitbags. I woke up one morning. Again, 3-4 hours of sleep tops, and her TV in the room is flipped over to the local news station, one of the local news stations. And they were doing a report about the new Pfizer COVID pills. Have you heard about them, right?
No.
The Biden administration. This also came out like a few days after, like on Twitter. People were talking about how the Biden administration is paying like $5.29 billion for 100 million treatments.
Okay.
And so, like, 10 million. It's 10 million treatments. Pardon me. So, like, they're just doing the simple division. They're like $500 a pill. It's like, no, actually, it's they're counting 10 million treatments.
Yeah.
The treatment course, the treatment regimen, is 30 pills over 5 days.
Yeah.
And so I woke up right when they were talking about that on the news. And it just struck me funny, being half asleep still. I was like, wow, 2 jabs turned into 30 pills. That's funny. And the nurse that was in there at the time, she's only had like 2 male nurses. One dude, really cool. Mm-hmm. This other guy, shitbag. And so he wanted to start jawing with me, a dude that just literally woke the fuck up. Making an offhanded comment. I still had sleep in my eyes. My hair was still kind of matted. And he's like, well, science moves pretty fast, man. 100 years ago, we couldn't even fly. And it took. Yeah, I was gonna say. Thank you, Donkey. Thank you.
Check your math. 107. I don't give a shit. It's 7% over. That's nearly 10.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
I mean, if I hadn't been half asleep and they didn't have that posted in the room about being respectful or disrespectful, and I would have well actually'd him in a heartbeat. But. I mean, that was like a secondary thought in my mind, because my first thought was like, you're a nurse. How many pharmacology classes have you taken? And are we really going to sit there and debate, or are we really going to lump, pharmacology, biochemistry, and physics all together and just say science? Really?
Well, that's
also, bear in mind, that's power flight. If you include gliding, add an extra 50 years almost to that.
That's what everyone loves to do, though. We your boy Zach.
I blame Bill Nye, the engineering guy, for that.
Yeah, that he's one. But your boy Zach from
Comics Matter,
formerly Diversity in Comics. But yeah, Comics Matter. It has a whole term for it. Marvel loves the science, and there's a certain set of people that view science or like scientific progression, scientific accomplishment as almost like dogmatic reverence. And like the worst part about it is that these are also people that very barely, if at all, understand like what actually went into these scientific discoveries. I don't know, man. It's trying to jaw at someone about these sorts of issues is I've taken it upon myself to exclude myself from those kinds of conversations simply because I know that it's going to be a futile waste of my time, kind of like Twitter.
Well, I mean, like I said, that dude was just lucky he caught me half asleep, because it was almost like getting sucker punched.
Yeah.
like he hit and ran like a bitch. Because if he actually wanted to have a conversation, like, all right, let me get a cup of coffee, have a cigarette, let's sit down and talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if science moves so fast, why is the FDA taking like 55 years to release all the data? Huh? I would have loved to have heard his answer from that. But I had one other run-in with him that I just wanted to box him in the ear. He came in when my grandmother was asleep. And of course, he needed to do something, so he had to wake her up. But he's standing at the foot of her bed. And he calls out to her, and she starts to stir and kind of wake up. And he's talking to her before she's even fully awake. So she kind of like, huh? Trying to get her bearings and figure out what the fuck this guy's saying. And so instead of, waiting for her to finish coming to and then repeating himself and making sure she understood, he puts his hand up to his mouth like a fucking megaphone and starts yelling at her from the foot of the bed. And I walked up on him. Have you seen those memes of the Undertaker?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Where like that dude's sitting there with like a smile on his face and he doesn't even know the dude's standing behind him? Yeah. That I was like, oh buddy. You are so lucky there are men with guns here protecting your ass. I mean, I want to tell him, you do realize that show with Hugh Laurie was called House ND, not House RN. You need to slow the fuck down, pal.
Yeah.
So, I have even less respect for medical profession now. Anyway, let's find something else to talk about.
Thank God.
Because I could rant and rave about that all night. As much time as I spent there, I've gotten to the point where I'm giving directions to people. You know?
Yeah.
It's a big hospital complex. Like, hey man, you don't want to use the elevator. It's kind of rickety. Oh, you look for the cafeteria. It's on this floor. Head that way. Turn left this hallway. Had one old girl. I went out for a smoke. I was coming back to the elevator bank, and I don't know where she came from. Because like they're doing remodeling work on the first floor. It's not like they had any patients on the first floor.
Mm-hmm.
But she's walking from the elevator bank down the hall. She's still in her gown and her little slip-proof socks, and she's got like her bag of clothes in her hand, and she's out of it, man. And she's like begging to find the exit, and I didn't blame her.
Yeah.
I've already been there a couple weeks by that point. Had some horror stories of our own. It's like, I don't blame you, sister, but it's a little cold outside. You might want to put some pants on first.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's like begging me to find the exit. It's like, I don't work here. Like I'm wearing jeans and a hoodie. What? But please, I need to find the exit. I need to find my husband. It's like, well, follow the exit signs, dear. See ya. One dude apparently, like he showed, he pulled his IV out. And he wasn't even like on our floor, but he ended up on our floor.
Mm-hmm.
And so like there was just a trail of blood down the hallway, like a goddamn murder scene.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it was from the IV and not from.
Yeah. He had pulled the IV out, and so he was just trailing blood for like at least 30 yards down the hallway. And like there was no noise. Not like this dude was yelling or hollering or in pain or anything. Like he was just out of it. And I was going out of the room to go get a smoke, and as soon as I opened the door, I just see red on the floor. I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And just down the hallway. I was like, you know what? I don't need a cigarette that bad. Close the door.
I don't need to risk running into Jason Voorhees.
I was like, yeah, this is how horror movies start, man.
I remember there was one time my neighbors were. It was okay. So our old neighbors used to be a couple. They weren't married yet. They since got married, and then they moved up to Door County, Wisconsin. Beautiful area, by the way. But while they were living here, the guy stayed here, and his girlfriend went up to Wisconsin for a camping trip. And she was sitting there. She called him because she was nervous about going out on this camping trip. And then,
was it at Camp Crystal Lake? What the fuck?
Let's say Crystal Lake is a suburb here of Chicago, but while she was up there, she was a little nervous about going up there and camping. And then she goes, "Oh, it looks like I'm losing reception." And then I look over at my neighbor and I go, "Tell her that's how horror movies start." And so he got this big old mischievous grin on his face. I missed them.
Yeah, well,
those were good neighbors. I like those guys.
I don't know, man. That kind of grin on the face, that could be like, yeah, I was getting cold feet, but I might not have to worry about it now. Oh man. No, like my favorite part of this whole ordeal so far has got to be having to drive on the BA Expressway.
Yeah.
Now, I've driven on highway systems that are way worse.
Sure.
I mean, just about any highway in Texas is going to be worse than this, because they drive like bats out of hell. But it's creeping up north here, man. The BA Expressway, that cuts through like downtown Tulsa and everything, east to west.
Mm-hmm.
And like the posted speed limits are only like 60 to 65, and you've got motherfuckers doing 80, 85, 90, and they're cutting across multiple lanes of traffic, no blinkers, no nothing. And it's like I might have some anger issues already, but I mean, you got me doing a mile a minute in a 1-ton death trap. It gets worse.
Yeah.
And the only thing that has spared these people from, just outright murder has been the fact that I'm not driving my car.
Driving Nana Camel's car?
Yeah, I've been driving her vehicle back and forth.
Oh, okay.
Because it gets way better gas mileage and everything.
Uh-huh.
If I were driving mine, Mad Max the whole fucking way.
I was gonna say, yeah, you don't want to drive up here in Chicago. I'm just gonna say that right now.
If it was mine, I'd be brake checking motherfuckers left and right.
We have a term for it. It's called the Friday Night Crazies.
Well, like that's why one of the reasons why I'm glad that I'm such a night owl. Because I mean, Tulsa, it's a fairly decent sized metropolitan area.
Sure.
But it's still, smallish. So, once you get past like 7:30 p.m., traffic dies down. Uh-huh. And I don't really come alive until about midnight anyway, in my natural state.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's usually when I get up and start foraging for food once I'm tired of, I got so tired of cafeteria food and I mean, they did have a Wendy's like right across the street. Mm-hmm. I never want to eat a Baconator again as long as I live.
Did you have that many of them, or is it just...
I haven't had like a lot of them, but I've had enough.
Yeah.
And ugh.
I'm gonna come right out and say it. I don't really like the Baconator. My preferred sandwich at Wendy's is just a regular hamburger, no cheese. And that's the hard part, is that it's Dave's famous cheeseburgers, right? So you have to sit there and fucking pull teeth to just not get fucking cheese on the burger. Anyway, just a regular burger, no cheese, with mayo, lettuce, and onions. That's my go-to at Wendy's, and good lord, is it all, like I said, pulling teeth every time you try to order it.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I would get the Baconator just because it was the easiest one, just like it wasn't like a number 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, give me the large fries, give me a large Dr. Pepper, and I'm golden. And I've had enough of those now. It's like, I'm starting to understand why the Jews and the Muslims are so against pork.
I wouldn't go that far. Come on now.
I didn't say I was totally on board. I said I'm starting to see their point.
Cheap restaurant bacon will do that.
So yeah, like I as long as I'm not on the BA during rush hour, I'm all right. Like I said, I'll try and get out and about, and no earlier than like 10 p.m.
Sure.
Those of us that are lactose intolerant, cannibalistic. I'll still get cheese on mine, but I mean, I'd pay for it later.
Yeah, no, for me, the whole thing is, I don't like the way the cheese tastes on those fucking Wendy's burgers. It always tastes weird and off. Like, I'll get cheese on a fucking Burger King burger. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Oh, that's another one. Because, like, doing all the driving back and forth.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I'm not eating in Tulsa. I'm eating, on the way back.
Sure.
And I would stop at a Burger King because my town, we don't have a Burger King. We used to have one. We lost our Burger King because the franchise owner couldn't keep up to fucking health standards. Yeah.
Do it.
So, like, for the longest time, if I went out of town and it was someplace at a Burger King, that was my first stop.
Sure.
Because it was a treat.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, now after a month back and forth and stopping at Burger King, no, the burgers are too sweet.
Yeah, that and like
I don't remember them being like that when I was younger.
sometimes because like it's not all they love to say flame broiled. There's a lot of liquid smoke in those as well.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes they just put way too much on it.
Well, so that's the weird thing. Like, I used to work at Carl's Jr. when I was in high school, and like we didn't do the liquid smoke thing. We would just put it like it was like a conveyor belt to get like the char oil on it, and so it would go through this conveyor belt with like the little grill slots, and it would actually be flame kissed, with an open flame. And yeah, like I loved those burgers. We lost that one too. We lost Carl's Jr. as well. So like in my hometown, there's nowhere to get a flame, charbroiled burger. It's all flat iron grill.
All Mickey D's kinds, huh?
Well, like Mickey D's, Sonic. I think I don't know. I think Brahms was like local to like Oklahoma, maybe like Brahms.
Yeah, I never heard of it.
Yeah, I think it's like Oklahoma, maybe Texas, Arkansas, maybe Arkansas. I don't know even know if it's Arkansas, but I think tri-state area maybe, but predominantly Oklahoma. And yeah, it's all like flat iron cooking.
I say we had a Hardee's in West Chicago, and that was the only one that I knew of. So when I would go to work, I would sometimes get Hardee's at lunch. I mean, Hardee's is the same as Carl's Jr.
Yeah, same corporation.
Yeah.
Which, wait, now, okay, my geography's a little screwy. If I'm not mistaken, Hardee's is supposed to be east of the Mississippi.
Yes.
Okay. And then west of Mississippi is all Carl's Jr. now.
Yes.
But Carl's Jr. would still do like the Hardee's breakfast. And yeah, like, dude, I miss Carl's Jr. so much. Like they had good burgers and the breakfast biscuits and stuff. Oh, those biscuits would fall apart. I'm getting hungry. I just had dinner. I'm getting hungry again. Thanks, man.
No, that's fine.
So how many more of them orc boys you got going, Quiz?
Let's see. And I'm just going to angle this back here. That's how many.
I'm waiting for the stream to show.
I'm gonna slowly and steadily just work on them every day. That's pretty much what I'm gonna have to resign myself to.
How much is it? 30? 60?
It's
okay. It's starting to see it moving.
It's 30 grand total.
Oh wow.
But I've got 6 that are fully done, like with their ink. I just inked the knob. So I'll probably have this guy ready to ink here in a bit. I just need to paint the bullets on the bullet chain here. And then I've got 2 more guys over here that need all of the black on them, then metal. That's pretty much what all of them need, is they need black and metal.
Johnny must be the exception to the rule. He says, we have Hardee's, but no Carl's.
Oh. Well, I don't know what it is then. There's got to be some sort of distinction between them, and
there is a general east-west divide. However, when the companies were separate, some of the furthest west ones for Hardee's and some of the furthest east ones for Carl's Jr. now overlap and are more legacy locations from before the grand merger.
I was just going to assume that they forgot about Montana because they've got more moose than people.
Hey, man.
Like, up here in Canada, it's pretty much all Carl's Jr. wherever you can find them.
Yeah.
Though I have not checked during my 1-month stint in St. John's. That would be as far east as you could go.
And so you got dealing with them newfies, huh?
I was a newfie for a month.
Nose.
See, I don't have any reference for Canadian geography.
I say I've somewhat now become more and more accustomed to like where things are and stuff like that in Canada, and I've only been there once. I crossed over from when I was a kid too. I crossed over the border from Michigan when I was up there visiting family, and it was just a sort of like day trip. We went over the border in Canada. This is back in the 90s too, when you didn't need a fucking passport. So this is, before 9/11.
Vaccine or otherwise, right?
Yeah, or otherwise. Yeah. So we just did like a day trip over in Canada and then came back. But yeah, I've become much more knowledgeable about Canada because of like stuff that I watch. Like I watch Letterkenny and stuff. So I learn about places and the peoples of Canada. Much more knowledgeable than I ever was before.
Well, I know BC is out west. The French are somewhere off to the east.
And middle, like they're
middle.
Quebec is middle east.
Oh, is that why it's so militant?
No, that's just the French in them. And the fact that several prime ministers have given them such great latitudes because French is so enchanting to our culture. Okay, give the Mandarins, and I think, I want to say the Irish Gaelic, the same level, because both of them have more population than the French Canadians in the entire fucking country.
I was gonna say, yeah, most people in Ontario have Irish heritage, right?
Ontario's extremely mixed.
Could have sworn that.
But after English and French, it's Chinese here, in terms of language.
Well, yeah, no, I'm talking like ethnicity of the population. I could have sworn that large swaths of Ontario are mostly Irish.
I would expand that to British Isle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so like Wales, British.
That entire mix, yeah.
Yeah.
Though there are sizable Slavic populations here as well.
And Germanic.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember in my college Spanish class. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's the same with the Midwest here in the U.S. Ohio has a place on the eastern edge of Ohio, like right near the Indiana border, that has such a high German, Germanic rooted population. They called their town Germantown.
oh yeah, there's I'm sure there's been more than one place that's got Germantown. But I mean, like Tulsa, according was it GQ or no Maxim? That's what it was, Maxim. Maxim magazine rated Tulsa as having one of like the top 5 Oktoberfests in the country.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I remember asking Badger about Oktoberfest. Like when he was talking about wanting to move, to America. It's like, well, man, you come to Oklahoma. It's like, nah, man, it's hot. I'm like, I mean, only for like 6 to 8 months out of the year,
Hey man, that's way better than here.
Well, he's a cheesehead, man. He wants to move to Wisconsin. So
I would love to go to Wisconsin, but not live there during winter.
Come on, let's grab your toque and have some fun, eh?
Yeah. Some boat tree.
I am pretty well set that I am never going to live anywhere outside of Oklahoma. I have no interest in moving.
I would love to live in Louisiana. That's my dream.
It's just getting too weird all over for me, and I I would much rather fight to keep my little piece of America than to try and move somewhere else and make it, Yeah. Like I know this place. If it ever comes down to it, I know where to just head off into the woods and Unabomber it.
In the woods.
Not the whole bombing thing, but just living out in the woods in a shack. I should have really
way to cover your ass there. You know what? I don't give a shit. Fuck you, Susan.
Well, I should have just said Ted Kaczynski it. Nobody would have caught that reference. Except for Johnny.
I forgot I also knew
actually, I've been meaning to get together with Johnny and I don't know, maybe do a stream where we go through and read the manifesto.
Yeah.
Or something. Because here lately, I put a meme picture of Ted Kaczynski as my wallpaper on my cell phone to try and break me of getting on Twitter and everything too much.
Okay.
Yeah, so every time I go to open my phone, I just see Ted staring back at me, and underneath, because he's sitting there in his blue prison jumpsuit, and it just says, "I see you on that fucking phone." So every time I go to send out a tweet, I'm like, "I'm sorry, Uncle Ted. I'm sorry, Uncle Ted." But yeah, man. Yeah, just off in the woods,
In the woods.
If shit gets too weird, just pack it up and I don't know, maybe go out to Robber's Cave or something.
That's never a bad idea to have a bug out bag,
Yeah, but before the coof, I looked at preppers like everybody else, these people are crazy. Because the only ones that I'd ever see were the crazy ones on TV,
Yeah.
And now it's just that just makes sense.
Yep.
Well, 10,000 rounds of 308, 50 rifles, a bunker with 20-inch concrete walls, and enough food to last 10 years underground. That's overdoing it.
Yeah. When I'm talking about bug out bag, I'm talking a 9mm, $5,000 in cash.
A week's worth of canned food and a medical kit.
Yeah.
Well,
serial number obviously scratched off on the gun, by the way.
At the very least, follow the rule of threes. Was it you can go 3 days, 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. So try to have yourself covered for the 3 days of water, 3 weeks,
yeah,
a few weeks worth of food. Am I gonna be prepared to either bug in or bug out?
Yeah, it's called shelter in or bug out.
Yeah, shelter in place or bug out. Yeah. And then have something handy in the car in case you're caught traveling. But yeah,
well,
just have the bases covered.
Then you just need to tell the officer that, according to the maritime laws, that you
goddamn road pirates. Are you trying to get me shot, Quiz? Oh no! Speaking of, did you guys see that truck or whatever that crashed in California?
No.
Had all the money that people were getting out of their cars to go. I believe it was in California. Yeah, just $100 bills scattered all over the freeway.
Holy shit!
Oh yeah, and people were following the common law of finders keepers, right? As you do.
Yeah.
And apparently they've got cameras and stuff on the freeways. They were getting people their face, their license plate numbers, and they're actually going after those people that picked up the money.
Lame.
It's yeah, right? It's okay.
Hey, if you
we still don't know.
If you didn't want your money taken, you should have fucking secured that shit in your truck.
Well, you should have found somebody that could drive and that wouldn't crash that bitch and scatter it all over the freeway. but yeah, it's like we still don't know what the Las Vegas shooters' motivation and stuff was. But you guys can track down these people who may have picked up a couple grand off the side of the road. Really? Priorities, people.
Because there's monetary gain to be had.
So, yeah, man. Like, I would not blame a single person on that freeway, just like scooping up a few Benjamins and being on their way.
Yeah, I know I would.
But I mean, like, if I'm mistaken, like I said, it's also California. Like, they have organized shoplifting sprees, but they're gonna track down people, on the freeway.
We usually call those riots, by the way.
Well, no, like the other night. No, did you see they had video the other night, like in San Francisco, like was it Union Square or something like that? Mm-hmm. People, it was an organized, like almost like a raid, not a riot, but like a raid. You just see all these cars, pull up, and like they just block off the road and whatnot, and they run into, I can't remember what store it was, but like they just looted that place. I think they hit a Louis Vuitton as well, or as AOC would call it, bread. They were just stealing bread for their family to eat.
Yes.
And this is why looters or raiders or whatever should be shot on sight. That happens once in a town. You will never have a looting problem for the next 5 years.
Well, we'll see what happens in Kenosha.
I haven't checked on the roof Koreans in a while, man, so you may be right, but I'm not gonna agree or disagree on principle.
Approximately 30 years. Actually, no. 25, 26-ish.
That's a good point. Whatever did happen to the roof Koreans, are they still there? And how did they fare with the whole George Floyd riots? Because the whole roof Korean thing was because of the
Rodney King.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why can't we all just get along? Rodney King.
Yeah.
So I wonder how they fared with the whole George Floyd thing. I don't know. It's just a good idea to catch up and see what happened. See if they got looted, or if they took to the roof with their rifles again.
Well, I mean, look at Kenosha after the verdict. Wasn't a whole lot of looting going on, a lot of rioting going on for that. So maybe they learned their lesson. Who knows? But I'm more worried about things closer to home. Oklahoma. That's where my ears really get perked up. Like with the George Floyd riots and everything. I think Oklahoma City had issues for like a day or two, and I don't know if it was a full 24 hours, to be honest with you, because they arrested people. They're like, hey, this isn't California. This is not Seattle. This is not Portland. Fuck around and find out. We will throw your ass in jail.
Yeah. I'd say there was actually a BLM demonstration after George Floyd here in the specific suburb town that I'm in here in Chicago. And it was funny because I drove down there and you saw all the BLM people marching simply because of what was happening in the rest of the country. Every single business downtown. Now, mind you, I saw the demonstrators. They were all peaceful. All right, we didn't have a riot here. But that didn't stop every single business all along every single thoroughfare from boarding up their windows and doors.
Oh, well, suburb of Tulsa, Claremore, there is a teenage girl wanted to have a Black Lives Matter march through town. And it being Oklahoma, people were sitting there on the sidewalk, like, have your march, but keep it moving. You know? Like,
And that is why America is great. There should be an M4 carbine behind every blade of grass, or an AK style rifle if you are of that alignment.
I want an AR. I only have a Chinese SKS.
See, yeah. I don't have a long gun. I want one. And the more I look back at it, the more I kick myself for not using the Trump/Biden bucks to buy one.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of like at the beginning. I was kind of like that frog in the pot. Like, oh man, this 2 weeks, all right. They're giving money. Might as well go ahead and get the bills paid because this shit's not gonna last. And then by the time they got around to like that second round, I was like, oh, I really want to go ahead and buy one. But I still got bills to pay, try and keep everything caught up, so that way we're not too far behind. Yeah, I was out of work too.
Yep. So I didn't have any choice. I had to use my fun bucks for bills.
Yeah. So like I was in the same boat. And now I was like, you know what? I should have just went ahead and done it.
Yeah.
Because like my dad had a neighbor up in the Broken Arrow, Tulsa area. A few years back, he had a break-in. This guy was living with his dad, in a little suburb house. 4 teenage boys broke in. They had like a 20-something-year-old girl was the mastermind getaway driver, who picked out this place because she knew the dude, knew what kind of stuff he had, knew he would either be out of the house or asleep or what have you. Maybe I guess she figured they'd get the jump on him. I don't know what they were thinking exactly. But so she sends these 4 teenagers into the house to break in. They're armed. They've got knives, brass knuckles, other accoutrement. Everything short of something that goes bang, right? Which is where they fucked up. Because he had an AR. And when they kicked the door in, it woke oh boy up. And he grabbed his rifle and he shot all 4 of them dead.
Nice.
And they end up picking up the getaway driver girl. And so she's, 4 counts of felony murder. And it was hilarious to me, not the fact that this guy, ended up killing 4 kids that were dumb enough to break into his house.
Yeah.
But it was hilarious to me, one of the kids' grandfathers got on TV with the local news station and proceeded to say how it wasn't a fair fight. He had
it's not supposed to be.
Exactly.
Fair fights are for suckers and children.
Well, first of all, there were 4 of them.
UFC.
Yeah, there were 4 of them and 1 of him. It wasn't fair to fucking begin with by their own, plan.
That's almost as dumb as fuck. Who's that one fucking NBA player saying knife fights were just a part of growing up? When Micaiah Bryant was shot.
That wasn't an NBA player.
Yeah, it was.
Was?
It was Kobe Bryant. No, it wasn't.
No. Kobe Bryant was already dead.
Yeah, no.
And Kobe wouldn't say anything that fucking stupid.
No.
All right.
Yeah, no. Who was it?
LeBron.
Might have been LeBron.
Well, I know, like he put the cop that shot her on blast, but I don't even think he would. He said some dumb shit, but I want to say it was somebody else.
No, I could have sworn it was. Let me see. If
I could have sworn it's like a sports reporter.
What was his name? LeBron.
Lebron.
Let's see here. Let me see.
But yeah, I remember somebody saying that knife fighting, it was just part of growing up. I want to say maybe it was like Jamel Hill or some other sports writer. I don't think it was an actual player. But yeah, I remember that dumb take. I was like, the fuck? Really? Knife fight? What? You grew up in West Side Story?
Yeah.
Like, were you with the Sharks or the Jets?
Yeah,
huh?
obviously part of the Jets or the Sharks. Yeah.
I don't remember the exact quote, Johnny, but some brainlet was saying that knife fighting was just something that you did when you were growing up. Like, I've been in plenty of scraps, and nobody ever pulled a fucking knife.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly think like we were at the last part of the last generation that really had like a somewhat normal childhood, where if you got bullied, you stood up to them. If you got into a fight, it was a fist fight. I'm sure Tim Dillon made fun of him, but no, I don't think he originated that quote.
Well, see,
it may have been a knife fighting was a part of black culture, cannibalistic. It may have been. I don't remember the exact quote. I just remember being like gobsmacked by the knife fighting is just something you do growing up. What?
Bree Newsom Bass, one of the people who were part of BLM organizers, said teenagers have been having fights including fights involving knives for eons. We do not need police to address these situations by showing up to the scene and using a weapon against one of the teenagers. Y'all need help. I mean that sincerely. That sounded
that was
the teenager that was about to get stabbed was the one that needed the help. Just saying.
See, that's the thing. That scenario that played out is a perfect example of a catch-22. He shoots that girl dead that was trying to stab somebody. He's the bad guy. He lets her stab a bitch possibly to death. He's the bad guy. There is no winning for that guy.
Yeah.
No matter what he did.
Well, that's 90% of all of the shit that's going on with just all of the riots and shit is the fact that when the police are called because of a riot going on and trying to contain it, they're at least whether actually being involved or being perceived to be involved are the cause of the riot. So they can't go in there and stop the riot because that will be seen as police escalating the violence, So it's that in and of itself is a catch-22. So,
and this is where I feel like I've actually have been pushed more to the right, not just the Overton window shifting, but when it comes to like riots and stuff like that, like I kind of wish we could go back to like, what was it? Was it 68 Democratic convention where they were just busting heads in Chicago? I want to say it was 68. I could be wrong. Oh yeah, I want to say 68, because then you had 72, 76, so on and so forth. But yeah, you see that footage, like, man, what I would give for some for some Chicago riot police from the 60s right about now, like watching like Portland and stuff popping off last year.
There was in I want to say it was one of the Trump riots or one of the Trump protests in Chicago. They got uppity with the police there with them, and they busted out the shields and started dragging protesters behind the shields and arresting them. But they didn't do it at all during the George Floyd riots. So
yeah. Well, it was that was they ended up canceling that Trump event, didn't they, in Chicago, because of all that going on?
Mm-hmm.
I just remember watching like the riot streams that Monkey and Jack were watching, and seeing like you could see like some of those dudes, they were just waiting, like they knew what they could and couldn't do as police, as riot police. And you could see, like, they were just almost like a tiger ready to pounce as soon as you cross that line into the territory of like, okay, now we got you.
Yeah.
Like that one chick who well, I think she ended up like spitting at the cop or something, and she was like, she was within arm's reach of him. So as soon as she let that loogie fly, man, he just grabbed her and pulled her behind them shields, and she was gone. It's like, now you done fucked up. And because she was getting all up in his face, she was hollering and screaming at him, and then like she just, I want to say it was like he hocked a loogie, and it's like, yep, time to go, bitch.
Or, depending on state, assault and battery.
Well, okay. Assault is just when you threaten violence. Battery
is when you actually
perform violence.
Well, strike contact, make contact with desire to harm.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. 30 years of Law and Order has got everyone just putting those two together. It's like, yeah, they're actually two different things.
Yes.
That's why I said depending on state, because in some states that's just assault.
Yeah. I think here in Illinois, if you spit on someone, it's just assault.
Oh, it may just be assault, but if you spit on me, I will batter you.
Yes.
Like that is a one-way ticket to getting the fuck beat out of you. I don't care who you are. You could be a 300-pound biker. I may get my ass kicked, but if you spit on me, it's go time.
Oh yeah.
I may end up losing the battle, but I'm gonna take something for my trouble.
Yep.
And the question is, what are you prepared to lose?
It's reminds me of the one bit that Commissar Yarrick did when fighting the Orks for the first War for Armageddon. When he gets his arm ripped off and he beheads the Ork warlord that cut off his arm, he proceeds to then chop off the dead Ork's arm with his power claw attached, holds it up for all of the other Orks to see, and says, "Like for like, what part are you going to give me?"
Most badass guard character.
And that caused all the Orks to run away, I'm just gonna say.
That is the one bright spot that I really do have between like IRL and online, is that when I log off and I go outside and I have to deal with other people, it's not anywhere close to the degree of crazy that is being broadcast from all the other corners of the world.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that it's just because the culture and people in my local area. I didn't come to my personality type purely by choice. A lot of it is growing up with it. A lot of people around here just like, do whatever you want, just leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
And we have our busybodies, right? We have our Karens and so forth, but they're vastly outnumbered by people that just want to be left the fuck alone.
Yep.
And I pray those numbers don't dwindle. Because
I think that that mentality is a lot more prolific than you might think. Because that's my politics broken down. Is just whatever. I don't care. Just leave me the fuck alone.
Well, I mean, I hope so. But like we've got people moving in. They've been steadily moving east from California. I mean, you look at Texas. They're talking about Texas being flipped blue just by the sheer number of people moving
happening.
In.
I'm not happening.
At this point, I'm not willing to make a prediction either way. But I know there are plenty of
Is that you just having wishful thinking there, Donkey?
No. Okay. New Jersey, a Dem +6 state. A guy beats the incumbent Senate president on $153. The Dems aren't turning Texas blue in 20 years. The next 20 years.
Well, I'm
Florida's
not worried
a red
about
state now.
Donkey, hold up. I'm not worried about Texas. I just know that that's the narrative that has been in place for a year or two now, maybe more. Oklahoma, much smaller population, much easier to invade. And there are plenty of people who have familial ties, coming from California and other western states to Oklahoma because of like the Dust Bowl. The Grapes of Wrath, yeah, that's fiction, but there's some basis to it. Plenty of people from Oklahoma moved out west during the Great Depression, looking for work and everything. So there are familial ties between Californians and Oklahomans and everywhere in between, that it gets bad enough, they'll pick up and they'll move back here because they got an auntie or a grandma or whatever who still lives here. They got some roots, and all they gotta do is bring their wacky bullshit with them. I've seen some people, and thankfully so far it's been very small numbers, but the one that sticks out to me was this couple of women from Oregon and a dude. They came into a store I was working in. Dude wanted to buy some smokes. All he had on him was his Oregon prison ID. And I remember one of the chicks was complaining about how much harder it is for, I guess, felons and whatnot here than it was in Oregon. And I just flat looked in the face and said, well, you can go back. Like, we're not, we're not asking you to come here. We're not asking you to stay. If you don't like it here, leave. Which apparently I found out a couple days ago is a KKK chant.
I was gonna say, yeah, I heard about that.
Oh, you heard about that?
Yeah, the interaction with Fat Pat, yeah.
Ah, yeah. Was it the quartering? He accused the quartering of being, told not to trip over his white hood on the way out.
Yep.
Because he told Trevor Noah to go back to South Africa. And it's like, what I asked him was like, so are all the South Africans in his replies saying that they don't want him back? Are they racist too? Which he didn't bother answering that question because I was like, I'm not a fan of Jeremy. Dude bores the shit out of me.
I'm not a fan of Jeremy because he's a massive fucking hypocrite.
He's a rage baiter, that's all he is.
No, he's a hypocrite. And I have forever lost all goodwill for him simply because of that. You cannot defend Count Dankula for saying that the Nazi pugs are only a joke, and then get all up in arms because Patton Oswalt told a joke that offended your conservative sensibilities, Jeremy. It doesn't work that way.
Well, like I said, I'm not a fan of him, not a big follower of him. I don't even really watch the Salt Mine. I like Bering, I like Dankula, but that dude, like I said, he bores the shit out of me, and he brings that thing down to a point where, like, not interested. But like, I was not reading racism in that tweet. I was reading like nativism.
Yeah, if you don't like America, then why are you staying here?
Yeah. And but yeah, he didn't bother to answer the question of like all the South Africans in reply saying, no, he's your problem now, we don't want him back, fucking keep him there. Like, are they racist too? He didn't answer that. He just, when I was like, what did he say? I don't think I need to clarify this, but yes, go back to your country is a KKK chant.
Yes.
I said, cool. I once told a German lady, that if she didn't like it here, she could fuck off back to the fatherland. I guess I should go find out when the next cross-burning meetup is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said,
Didn't hear back from him. Like I've been saying that to people.
An Indian
for
and a cross
years.
burning, man. That's gonna be weird.
Oh boys, look what I got here. But yeah, man, like I don't. Oh, Johnny says I just tossed up my dinner when you brought up Jeremy. Thanks for that. Well, hey man, you know I'm glad I could help you get rid of a hairball. You know, I do what I can.
And I say, man, all I gotta, you know, it's not our fault that he handles. All right, you know, it's kind of, you know, become his iconic thing. It makes sense when you take into consideration his name. You know, it's you know.
But yeah, I didn't follow him close. I didn't follow Jeremy close enough to know about his hypocrisy with the Patton Oswalt joke or anything else.
Yeah. He
pops up on my timeline from time to time, and with him, it's kind of like well, no, never mind. I'm not gonna make that comparison because that would actually be too good for him. But when he does pop up on my timeline, it's because somebody else has done or said something so stupid it makes him look good in comparison.
That's like 90% of his entire online persona, is that he's able to find someone dumber than him, which is a miracle.
Actually, no, it's not. At this point, it's like shooting fish in a barrel, which is really sad. Because like the last time I saw him pop on my timeline was Keith Olbermann. Did you see that?
No.
Apparently, Keith Olbermann, he made, I can't even remember what the comment he made was, what it was about. And Jeremy replied to him about it. And Keith called him out for being, you know, an anonymous online troll. And so Jeremy's like, you know, he's like, my name's Jeremy Hambley. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You know, just put it out there on Front Street. Because he's not anonymous and hasn't been for a while. You know, it hasn't been anonymous since at least his lawsuit.
Yeah.
You know? And if the former fucking news anchor had done a 10-second Google search, he would have known that before he stuck his foot up into his mouth to the knee. But yeah, so what was the hypocrisy with the Patton Oswalt? What was the Patton Oswalt joke anyway?
Patton Oswalt made it's very much a Mike Cernovich sort of situation with what's his name? The director, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, James Gunn.
James Gunn. It was very much a James Gunn sort of situation. He combed through Patton Oswalt's Twitter feed and found a joke that a pedophile joke that Patton Oswalt made back in like 2011, 2012. And Jeremy, of course, you know, being the little conservative kowtow here, decided to try and put Patton Oswalt on blast for making a pedophile joke.
That whole was it Scribe? Was he the one that coined the phrase "outrage archaeologist"?
If it wasn't Scribe, I can definitely see Scribe doing something like that. Yeah.
I have no tolerance for that shit either. With James Gunn, I was like, dude does make a lot of pedophile jokes. I was giving him a little side eye for that. I was like, you really like pedophilia jokes? That's a little odd. But at the same time, I was like, I don't care if a dude making, you know, superhero movies is making jokes about pedophilia a decade ago.
You do know that James Gunn, before he started making superhero movies, worked for Troma, right?
No.
Troma, the company that made Toxic Avenger, and is the entirety of their filmography is built around the idea of gross out humor.
No, I was not familiar with that.
Yeah.
I've heard the name. Was it Tromo?
Yeah. He directed Tromeo and Juliet.
Yeah, not something I was familiar with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you put that in context, it makes sense. But again, I was still like, that's a lot of pedophilia jokes. But then again, you know,
And
if you go back, if you go
wet
10
blankets
years
like
on
Mike
me,
Cernovich to sit there and say, "Oh, well, I'm going to clutch my pearls because you're making a joke I don't like."
yeah, exactly. I mean, if you went back 10 years, you know, if I had a big enough, if I had an online presence where I was posting like my jokes and whatnot, I made a lot of dead baby jokes.
Yeah.
You know, doesn't mean I support or endorse dead babies.
Fuck, is it Mike Cernovich or who's the other?
Yeah,
the other.
It was Cernovich.
Well, no,
it was Cernovich that did that.
The other conservative faggot that likes to sit there and say that women are only good for their wombs.
Oh, Walsh.
I don't know. There's so many of them. I can't. Even count them,
there's a lot of dudes that you know. I mean, that's like asking, like, you know, which feminist said this batshit crazy things. Like, you got to narrow it down a little more.
Yeah.
You know. So, I mean, I could probably name off like a half a dozen off the top of my head, and we probably still wouldn't be anywhere near close to find out which guy said what.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like with Gunn, like I said, I was giving him some side. I was like, that's a lot of pedophile jokes, but at the same time, it's like it was a decade ago, and who fucking cares? You know? Do you have evidence of him like touching kids? No? Then shut the fuck up.
And now that you know the context, it makes a little bit more sense now, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Still might not be my cup of tea, but
sure.
You know,
no joke has to conform to everyone's sensibilities.
Yeah.
No one.
But you know what? I'm not
going
to try and get that dude fired for making a joke I don't like, because I'm not a pussy.
No one went to Count Dankula, or no. Well, no one should have gone. No one should have gone to Count Dankula and said that you have to like his Nazi pug joke. You don't have to like it.
They had to find like the one Jew in Scotland, like, hey, is this offensive? Yeah, it's offensive. They didn't ask him, like, are you offended?
Yeah.
Yeah. They just found the one dude is like, yeah, that's offensive. Like, okay, arrest him. But no, I don't think anybody should get fired for something they said, you know, and unless they're like advocating, you know, or actively inciting some kind of action. No, I mean, just let them say what they're gonna say. If you disagree, you know, say you disagree. That's how this is supposed to work.
That's your right as an American. You don't have to agree with everyone. It's fine.
Yeah. You don't have to listen to everyone.
Yeah.
You know?
Someone says something you don't like, fuck it, move on.
Yeah. Change the channel. But yeah, man, that thing with Cernovich is like, you're kind of ceding the high ground when it comes to the whole cancel culture thing, because now anybody can go back and point to that and be like, hey, remember they got James Gunn fired? Which, I mean, that lasted all of, what, 6 months?
Well, no, they did get him fired from Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just that he went on to immediately direct Suicide Squad. And guess what? It was great! That was a great movie.
The first go or the second go?
I liked them both, but yeah, the second go was the one that was directed by James Gunn.
You know, I mean, they did the whole Snyder cut with Justice League. I would like to see, was it Ayers?
Yeah,
David Ayers.
Yeah.
I would like to see his cut of Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
You know, like another one. I know, like, Monkey is not a fan of Half Baked.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Half Baked when I was growing up.
Hell yeah.
But at the same time, that was, you know, a studio version of Half Baked. That's not Dave Chappelle's idea for Half Baked. I'd like to see what his cut would have looked like.
Did Chappelle direct Half Baked?
No, he wrote it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was his material. You know, he wrote the script for the movie, and then, you know, the studio went and had to go put their fingerprints all over it.
Yeah, of course.
And you know, he said, you know, they pretty much, you know, they toned it down so much that they tried to make it into like a kids movie, almost. Jeez. And I can see where he's coming from with that. Yeah. It's like, well, I'd like to see, you know, because as big as Dave Chappelle is now, like, he was edgier back then. You know, he was like a hungry comedian back then. Mm-hmm. Now he's the biggest name, you know, and I enjoyed The Closer. I enjoyed Sticks and Stones, but they didn't feel to me, in my estimation, my subjective view, they weren't as good as his earlier stand-ups. Like, to me, Kill 'Em Softly is probably still one of the best stand-up specials I've seen.
I don't think I've seen Kill 'Em Softly.
Oh man, that was he did that one from San Francisco. That's the one where he had like, it's about like the baby selling weed on the corner in the ghetto.
Okay.
And you know, he had his whole bit about Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky.
Okay.
Yeah, this was right around 2000. I want to say, 99, 2000, somewhere there. It was before 9/11, because he actually made a joke about terrorists taking over a plane.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. He's like, you know, him and one other black guy on the plane is like a dude from like Africa, and like their eye, you know, they met eyes and they just nod to each other. He's like, some white people saw us and they're like, I think those, you know, they're gonna try and they're gonna try and do so. They're gonna try and save us. He's like, nah. What me and that dude were nodding about, so we both understood that terrorists don't take black people as hostages.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it was a tight hour-long set. You know, he wasn't editorializing. It was just going from joke to joke to joke, and each one of them just had that, had a punch to them. The laughs per minute was higher in my estimation than with like the closer.
Gotcha. I still haven't seen the closer.
Like I said, it was good, but he was trying to make a point about something.
Yeah.
Whereas with like Kill 'Em Softly,
he was just
was Kill 'Em? No, I think Kill 'Em Softly might have been in DC. There was one, he did one in San Francisco, one in DC. I'm maybe getting them confused. But yeah, like, Kill 'Em Softly, he was just telling jokes. I think this was before he got the Chappelle show, too. So he was just doing stand-up. But yeah, man, that's another thing. Like, comedy, a lot more editorializing going on these days.
Yeah. A lot less jokes and a lot more trying to explain something. I'm not there for a lecture. I'm there to laugh.
It's almost like how familiar are you guys with Bill Hicks?
I'm pretty familiar with Bill Hicks.
See, I really enjoyed Bill Hicks like in my teen years. High school to early 20s, and I grew out of him. Because, well, he was dead, so he wasn't doing any new material.
Yeah.
You can only listen to 3 or 4 specials so many times before you know them forwards and backwards, and they're just not as funny anymore.
True.
But he also had that kind of preachiness to him, where, like, you could go for a few minutes without getting a laugh.
You know who I kind of blame for that? And it's going to seem a little weird and a little out of left field. Fuck. Dennis Leary.
Oh, see, Leary. That's the thing with like Hicks. Leary was accused of stealing Hicks's material and his persona.
I'm not shocked. Yeah, they're very similar.
Well, Bill Hicks actually made. He was doing an interview one time, and they asked him about the rumors, because him and Dennis were friends at one point. And then he started like adopting Bill's mannerisms and kind of anger on stage and the chain smoking and everything. Like No Cure for Cancer was pretty much him lifting a lot of Bill Hicks. And so they're asking him about his relationship with Dennis, and he said, I'll tell you a secret. Dennis didn't steal from me. I stole from him. And to really throw people off, I did the material first, and I camouflaged it with jokes.
Someone's got a scratchy mic.
That might be me. Sorry. But yeah, when they did the roast of Dennis Leary on Comedy Central, Lenny Clark one of his buddies who came up with him in Boston. I think he was on. He's been in a lot of Dennis Leary's like movie and TV projects as well.
Sure.
When he got up to do his bit, I don't know if they have it like in the recorded section, like if you were to watch a recording of it now, but when they aired it live, at the end of the roast, he got up there and he said, these are left backstage for you, and it was a carton of cigarettes, and it had a note on it, said, it says they're from Bill Hicks. It says, I wish I got these to you sooner, because Hicks died from pancreatic cancer due to a lot of smoking.
Sure.
So he died at like 30. Oh shit! Now that I think about it, I think Bill Hicks died around the age that I am now. And I'm pretty sure I started smoking before Bill. I might need to go see the doctor, get checked out.
Yeah, it might be.
Just to be on the safe side.
So, Camel, why are you coming in for a checkup today? Well, I just realized that Bill Hicks was about my age when he died, and
it's like I'm not afraid to burn the candle at both ends, but as long as Nana Camel's around, I need to go ahead and kind of keep an eye on it.
Well, I kind of like to see it coming.
Yeah, like I said, once Nana Camel is out of the picture, no fucks left. But until then, I kind of need to. There you go, Terry. That's the joke. Why is Dennis Leary famous? Well, it's actually why is Dennis Leary famous and Bill Hicks isn't? Because there's no cure for cancer. But yeah, as long as she's still around and kicking, I'm gonna try and take care of myself. Once she's gone, all bets are off.
Yeah. I say, when I'm not gonna sit there and say that I hate Dennis Leary. I just don't really like him too well. But I'll say that I've adopted a sort of ethos because of Dennis Leary. When people sit there and say, well, don't eat that, that's bad for you. I constantly think, and then, I say, I've said to multiple people that I've said, don't eat red meat, it's bad for you. Don't eat blah, blah, blah. Or don't do this. I would sit there and say, what if I'm very, very apathetically suicidal?
Well, that's what I've been saying.
I want to die, but I just can't be bothered to kill myself.
Well, that's what I've told people about my smoking for years, because I smoke at least a pack a day. And they're like, well, that's gonna kill you. It's like, yeah, it's slow motion suicide. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm just a procrastinator.
You can borrow the apathetically suicidal if you want.
Yeah. Oh no! Well, no. Like I flat tell people, like, yeah, it's slow motion suicide. Like, what, you think I'm unaware of what this is going to do to me? We've only had the warnings all my fucking life. Well, I take it back. Not all my life. I'm old enough to remember when NASCAR was the Winston Cup.
Yeah, same. I remember. I'm old enough to remember actually seeing smoking ads on TV.
Oh well, like here's the best part: being Choctaw, we still had like I mean, obviously you can smoke in casinos.
Yeah.
Duh. But they also have travel plazas. Like truck stop gas stations, pretty much. Mm-hmm. In different localities throughout the Choctaw Nation. Mm-hmm. Up until sometime after like 2008, 2009. I know in 2008, 2009, you could still walk into a Choctaw Travel Plaza with a lit cigarette, and they had ashtrays on the shelves for you to ash your cigarettes in.
Nice.
You could walk around the store just puffing away, and nobody would say shit to you. I know this because when I was in college and everything, I would go down to the Travel Plaza, buy my smokes, maybe get a pizza or whatever. Just walk in, light one up, or buy a pack at the counter, pack it, open it up, spark one, walk on out. No muss, no fuss. But I would be remiss, since we were talking about Dennis Leary, because Terry's in chat and he hasn't brought it up yet. But Leary he got a reputation. Like, there's a reason why he doesn't do stand up anymore. Yeah. Like, he got that reputation of lifting off of Hicks. That's I'm an Asshole song. Yeah. It was accused that he lifted that off of Louis C.K.
Really?
That premise, he lifted that off of Louis C.K.
I would have figured it would be more like Dave Attell.
Well, this was early Louis, before he got big. Which, I mean, like, a few different people have lifted off of Louis. Like, Dane Cook, he lifted bits off of Louis.
Yeah. And I say, what's her nuts?
Amy Schumer.
Yeah, her. She stole like a whole like segment from Dave Attell.
She stole from Attell. She stole from Kathleen Madigan. She stole from Patrice.
Really,
O'Neal.
Patrice O'Neal.
Oh yeah, dude. She has stolen from I don't know how many different people. Not just in her stand-up, but for her show that she had inside Amy Schumer. Yeah, man, she's been accused of theft left, right, and center. But also, back when Colin Quinn had his show Tough Crowd, there was a great segment where they had Leary on. He was big and famous at that point. He was wearing his sunglasses indoors.
Yeah.
And they had Greg Giraldo on. And God loved Greg Giraldo. That man was just awesome.
Yeah.
And he proceeded to just rip Leary to shreds. Because, as a working comic, he came in prepared. He had taken notes. He had ideas about what he was going to talk about, jokes he was going to tell. And Leary, he was just coasting at that point. And he tried to, like, make fun of Greg for coming in prepared. And Giraldo was a lawyer before he got into stand-up. And so he just, like a fucking surgeon, just started just tearing him apart like a defendant on the stand. He's like, yeah, Dennis, that's what we do as comics. We actually write jokes and we prepare and, we take notes. Maybe if you did that, it'd still be funny. It's easier to list who Amy Schumer didn't steal from. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Cannibalistic.
How did he die?
Giraldo?
Yeah.
Drug overdose, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, OD'd on prescription medicine.
Yeah, man, we lost a lot of good ones to drugs.
Yeah.
I know, like, I think Mitch Hedberg was just kind of like, for the time that he was doing stand up, he was big for like people my age.
Oh yeah, Mitch Hedberg was great. I love Mitch Hedberg.
Well, the thing is, like, he was very, very much a comedian. Like, you could not have a high energy comic going on before him.
Yeah.
He was a heroin addict. You couldn't have somebody who was like, energetic and stuff going on before him. And I understand the point of view of, like, older people where they're like, yeah, he was just like a poor man's Stephen Wright, like, okay, yeah, sure, but he was still funny. And I love hearing, like, when people bomb just as much as, like, when they're killing. Like what Andrew Dice Clay, the day the laughter died. I laughed myself stupid listening to that, because just the cringe of, like, hearing the bombing. Like, you can literally hear one dude as he's getting up to leave, like, he tells Dice, he's like, "You're about as funny as a glass of milk." It's like, okay.
Mitch Hedberg had something like that happen in one of his recorded ones.
He had a Jeb Bush moment of like, please clap, we're recording this.
Yeah.
Please laugh. Please laugh.
The best part about it was that he was really good at thinking on his feet. So he parlayed that into his own improv joke, and it was hilarious. He was all like, the problem about having a distinctive laugh is that you can tell when there ain't laughing. Like,
distinctive laugh, didn't think that was funny.
Didn't think that joke was very funny.
Yeah, I did love the one-liners, because like, again, yeah, Stephen Wright probably did it better. You could argue. It's subjective. I like Stephen Wright's jokes too. But you don't have very many comedians doing that kind of dry, one-liner type humor. So when you do get one, you remember them.
Oh yeah.
Like I love like it was Mitch Hedberg's like talking about like different size beds. Like I got a king size bed. I don't know any kings, but if I ever meet one,
he'll be very comfortable.
Yeah. like I think I can set your old lady up too.
Yeah.
I used to lay in my twin size bed.
And wonder where my brother was.
Still makes me laugh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I parlayed a Mitch Hedberg joke into an interaction on Twitter before I finally left it.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, someone was putting out a thing saying like free Eldar bits to people who live in the UK. But then I took a look at the picture of a lot of the bits, and she had, I think, like 5 scatter lasers. And scatter lasers, for those not initiated in Warhammer 40k, fucking suck. They're terrible. You never want to take them. The only saving grace is that they're free. But yeah, so like I saw she had like 4 or 5 scatter lasers, and then I responded to her saying, to parlay this into a Mitch Hedberg joke. Mitch Hedberg, someone walking down the street, someone hands me a flyer, is like them saying, "Here, you throw this away."
Yeah.
Someone handing me 4 scatter lasers is like them saying, "Here, you throw this away."
Well, Terry says, I was never too keen on Dice Clay. Dice Clay is a great example of when the bit becomes bigger than the man.
Yeah.
Because, like, when he started off, he was not Andrew Dice Clay. He was Andrew Silverstein. Dice Clay, the Dice Man, was a bit that he did. And that bit took off. It's like Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah.
What is his name? His name's like Dana something.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question.
No, Dan. I can't remember what Larry the Cable Guy's name is. But yeah, Larry the Cable Guy, just a bit originally on the radio that he did. And
Daniel
it grew
Lawrence
into...
Whitney.
Dan Whitney, that's right. So, yeah, like the Dice Man, it just... That bit grew in popularity to the point where, like, he became the Dice Man.
Yeah.
And... like if I ever got to meet that dude, it's like I realized you spent 30-40 years being the Dice Man. I want to talk to Andrew Silverstein.
Yeah.
Like I want to pick that dude's brain, because I mean that would be a far more interesting conversation than the bravado and everything that comes along with the Dice Man, in my opinion.
Sure. Well, that's the whole thing about certain comics having a gimmick that they feel they need to do.
Well, like Emo Phillips.
Yeah, Emo Phillips.
That's just sad at this point.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you're in your 60s. Pack it up.
It's still funny though. I like Emo Phillips. He would not be nearly as funny to me if it weren't for the fact that my first exposure to him was UHF.
Well, okay, that's fair. I mean, it'd be like if Gallagher was still smashing fruit. Like, dude,
he still does.
That's my point. Nobody knows he's still smashing fruit. That's my point.
Although his stand-up is always better. I say that I can't find the stand-up special in particular, but I love it. It's because he's got a bachelor's in English and communications, right?
That makes sense. I remember him, like, he was doing his jokes and stuff like, why do they call them apartments when they're so close together?
Well, he's the originator of the one thing, Internet Historian, on one of his most recent videos on In the Field, was doing one for, I think it was architecture, and he goes, why do they call them buildings when they've already been, when they're already finished, being under construction? They should be called builts.
Yeah.
I say that's a Gallagher joke.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think that's right. Same deal like the apartment deals. Why do they call them apartments when they're so close together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You park in a driveway and drive in a parkway just to be silly.
Now let's smash a watermelon.
Yeah. Like I said, the Sledge-O-Matic, that's a gimmick and stuff, and it's funny too because it was actually stolen by his brother.
Gallagher too, yeah.
But
although my favorite's still Black Gallagher.
Yeah, but
I got warrants.
His stand-up that he did before the Sledge-O-Matic was always way better.
Oh yeah. I mean, there were so many people like Richard Jenney. You ever watch Richard Jenney stand up?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I think probably my favorite one is the meet a girl, sit down at a card table, taking turns, putting down cards, revealing your problems. It's like, hi, my name is whatever, and I'm a Scorpio. Hi, my name is Stacy, and I'm a psycho.
Well, like he committed suicide when it was 2007.
I don't remember.
Well, like the thing was, like he was a great stand-up, but that wasn't enough for him. He wanted to be, a leading man.
Yeah.
Like he was in The Mask with Jim Carrey as the friend.
Yep.
He wanted to be Stanley. He wanted to be the leading man in those comic movies and whatnot.
Yeah. And
he was just so depressed that he was not getting what he wanted, but he was killing in stand-up.
Well, yeah.
And
2007.
Yeah, 2007, because that's when I graduated high school. I was crushed when I heard about him going ahead and taking that way out.
Yeah.
'Cause if he had just held on for a few more years, Netflix starts getting big. If he would have been on a Netflix stand-up, huge.
Well, apparently he did actually have diagnosed schizophrenia.
Oh, see, I did not know about that. I knew about like the depression from not,
Yeah, he had clinical depression coupled with psychotic paranoia.
Oh wow, I did not know about that. I knew about the depression.
Yeah. And yeah, say that's the thing is that Richard Jenney, like his stand-up is still to this day like some of the funniest stuff I think I've ever seen.
Oh yeah. I remember it was a Platypus Man.
Mm-hmm.
I was in high school and we had an event for drama competitions. It was called the Humorous Duet.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember taking kind of like the premise of Platypus Man, where he was, he starts off with like the National Geographic kind of, opening with the, describing like the platypus man and his natural habitat. And I took that premise and me and my girlfriend wrote a 10-minute sketch. I took that premise and then we took a guy in our drama club and we made him kind of like the centerpiece of the premise.
Okay.
And we would have won first place, except we made it through like the opening rounds. We got to the finals, and we absolutely murdered. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We got the three judges are just rolling, laughing. We had the other competitors; they were all laughing too. But the problem was the dude that we based this off of decided to come and check out what we were doing.
Oh no.
And I felt so bad. Because we use his first name in everything.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, like, I am playing him and just being as quirky and weird as I can be, using some of his mannerisms even. And he's just sitting there right in front of me, you know? Mm-hmm. And, you know, the girlfriend, she's, like, doing, like, the National Geographic narrator and stuff and everything. And we get done, and like I said, everybody's laughing. We killed. And I could not help myself. I apologized to him in front of everybody. Because like I couldn't get a read on like how he felt about it. Because I could tell like he, you know, the gears were turning during the 10 minutes, you know? Uh-huh. And I couldn't tell like how he felt about it. And I felt so guilty. I was like, I'm so sorry, Isaac. And that just gave it away. So like we didn't end up winning. If I had managed to keep my mouth shut for like another minute while we got out of the fucking door and then apologized to him, we would have went home with like a first place trophy. But it was just so awkward because with the humorous duets, you're supposed to have a scripted set that is written by somebody else. You're not allowed to write your own material.
Okay.
So we violated the rules immediately, which I thought was hilarious because, like I said, everybody in that room is laughing, just roaring laughter, and like you had other people, you know, they were funny. Like there were these two guys from one school. They did Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Okay.
They ended up winning, and yeah, it was funny. You know, it's Monty Python, but you know, they didn't get nearly the kind of pop that we did, and we made that up almost on the fly. I was like, yeah, we did good, and then I completely shot us in the foot. I remember like the next year, me and a buddy, we ended up doing you ever watch the show Titus on Fox?
Starring God, what's his
Christopher
name?
Titus?
Yeah, Chris Titus. Yeah, I think I saw like a couple episodes of it.
We did like the first episode. We condensed it down to 10 minutes, and we ended up winning first place with that.
Nice. Yeah,
because well, you know, it was kind of difficult to do because we had multiple different characters. You know, like, you know, I was playing Titus, and then my buddy was playing his little brother Dave, and their friend Tommy. So he was playing those two roles. I was playing Titus and his dad Ken, who was played by Stacy Keach. And yeah, so like we had to condense that down and also kind of sanitize it a little bit. I mean, you know, it was cable TV. So, and in high school, you're not allowed to make, you know, too many references to, you know, like drugs, alcohol, sex.
Sure.
No swearing, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to clean that up a little bit. But yeah, because I just couldn't find anything that I thought was really funny with like the material that we had on hand in the drama club. Oh God, what are they doing now?
Dog's barking.
Sorry, I had to yell at them to shut up.
Oh. Well, it's about time we stop anyway.
Yeah, we've been going like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, and I got work in the morning, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, I get to drive back to the hospital too.
Yeah, so you got a journey ahead of you. We've been Minions of the Zoo. Thank you all for coming out, watching some paint dry. Next week we'll see. I saw Lisa in the chat saying that she wanted to do a kit bash, so we might do another tandem paint model stream next week. But yeah, be sure to watch tomorrow where Skep Tock is the host, and yeah, take care everyone. Zoo's closed.
Good night.